Is Star Wars so back? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, people. Star Wars is so back. Welcome back to Movies Are So Back, the YouTube movie review channel where I, Ethan Simmie, ask the question, are movies so back? I've got some bad news. I was not able to see Longlegs opening weekend. I feel like I've missed a moment in time. I feel not cool, essentially. I feel like everybody else is seeing Longlegs and I'm not seeing Longlegs. But sometimes life gets in the way, and that's okay. I'm going to see Longlegs as soon as possible, and when I do see it, you can bet that I'll have my review up here on the channel. I'm very excited. I'm tempering my expectations, but I'm very, very excited. So for now, I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to ask a different question. Is Star Wars so back? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, people. Star Wars is so back. Quite honestly, Star Wars couldn't be more back. I've been watching The Acolyte, and I joined in late, but I'm here now, and I'm ready for the finale. And all I've got to say is, The Acolyte is some of the best Star Wars content that we have got in recent memory. It is single-handedly the best Star Wars television show that we have got on Disney+. I am adoring everything about The Acolyte. I feel like almost nobody is enjoying The Acolyte, which I find to be exceptionally strange considering I'm enjoying almost every single second of The Acolyte. I do know that the discourse around this show has been, as is the case with most Star Wars projects these days, unfortunately, extremely volatile. And you know what? I haven't been partaking in that discourse whatsoever. I know that this show is a 14% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't care. Doesn't affect anything about the show for me at all. And I wonder if that's part of the reason that I'm enjoying The Acolyte so much is because I'm kind of on my own Acolyte journey. Like I said, I joined in on the show late. There were already 5 episodes out. I had heard about the hype. I had heard about the extremely mixed reviews of the show, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to really try to make up for lost time and get stuck in on this show. But I had some really good friends over at the Reckless Rebellion podcast that kind of helped support me in my journey and make my decision to start The Acolyte. And you know what? I was on their show last week talking about how much I am loving The Acolyte. So I feel like that is a big win, and it has been a really fun journey for me. Since I am coming into The Acolyte late, I'm not going to break down every single episode. I'm not going to talk about specific moments or characters or character arcs or anything like that. There's only 1 episode to go by the time that this video comes out, so I feel like that wouldn't really be doing a service. Perhaps I will do that for the final episode. I'm just going to talk about like 2, 3, maybe 4 things that I'm really enjoying about The Acolyte that I think are very unique and fascinating to the show itself that make it work so successfully for me. First and foremost is this idea and theme of a dyad in the Force. Now, a dyad in the Force is nothing new to Star Wars whatsoever. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, is essentially built around the idea of a dyad in the Force. I consider that to be one of the worst projects that Star Wars has ever put out, but it includes one of the best scenes that Star Wars has ever put out, and you know what? That scene is particularly referencing how Kylo and Rey are a dyad in the Force. So I think I just have a great personal interest, fascination, attraction to this theme of a dyad in the Force. Now, it's not particular to The Acolyte, but what is particular in terms of The Acolyte and a dyad in the Force is how a dyad is being communicated, navigated, and portrayed visually. There are some really, really fascinating, neat things that the show is doing. We've spent 7 episodes so far going back and forth, focusing on the idea that people can contain multitudes. They can contain 2 sides of the same coin, right? Osha and May, Kymar and the Stranger, the Sisterhood and the Jedi, this continuously recalling of there are 2 sides of the same coin. The way it's being communicated with a much slower pace compared to other Star Wars projects is something that I'm really interested in and I'm really gravitating towards, especially with Master Soul and his personal journey and how he is kind of this centerpiece to what the Acolyte is trying to navigate. And he is the person that finds himself really caught in this gray zone of one side or the other when it comes to how somebody can be 2 things at once. The Acolyte is not only tackling this idea of 2 sides of the same coin narratively, with pace and with score, but practically. Amandla Stenberg is playing both Osha and May. Manny Jacinto is playing both Kymar and the Stranger. People that are physically representative of 2 sides of the same coin. I feel like this is a remarkably understated and underrated part of the Acolyte that people just like aren't really talking about. Again, I'm removed from the conversation, so maybe everybody's talking about it, but I think it is a really interesting idea that we've never seen practically played out in Star Wars before. Another aspect that I think the Acolyte is getting totally and completely right is Li Zhongjae as Master Soul. He kind of acts as this centerpiece to this idea of choice. Now, episode 7 was titled Choice, and it all came down to his choice, or what we believe to be his choice. And the way the Acolyte is navigating the waters of how choice probably isn't always what you think it is. It is not always your choice specifically. We keep hearkening back to this idea that there are other people, other bodies, other influences that need to be involved in decision making. Now, that's not new to Star Wars as well, but the way that the Acolyte is handling it in such a grounded, small way feels novel. At least it feels novel to me. And this being set prior to The Phantom Menace, I think opens up a lot of ground to explore the lore and how the Jedi and the perceived Sith in the galaxy are kind of talked about and live within a galaxy among one another. Another thing about the Acolyte, I feel like episode 5 should have been in IMAX screens across the country. I don't think that's too much to ask, to be honest. That episode was a movie. It contained some of the most visually and narratively stimulating ideas that Star Wars has put out in a really, really long time, and it's all navigating around this core of a full-bodied story with connective tissue at every single turn. Episode 5 was sensational. All of this to say that I'm truly and genuinely enjoying every single episode of The Acolyte. I think it is some of the best content that Star Wars has put out in several years. Now, what's going to happen in the final episode? I don't know. I'm not usually good at predicting, but I would wager that we are going to get some sort of epilogue that is going to help us fill the gap between where the series started with May hunting the Jedi and where the series currently is. That feels prior to that by some substantial amount. We will see what happens. I'm really excited to check out the final episode. Yes, there feels like there's a lot of storylines to wrap up. No, I'm not worried. I think The Acolyte is going to remain, after the final episode, one of the best things that Star Wars has done in a really, really long time. If you haven't watched The Acolyte yet, let me be your guiding, positive voice and encourage you to check it out. Episodes are short, which is a huge reason that I got into this show, and it is paying off so remarkably for me. It is something unique, special, and really just different within the Star Wars universe, and it's something that I'm enjoying very, very much. So is Star Wars back? Yes, Star Wars is so back, like a 10 out of 10. On the Is Star Wars So Back scale, The Acolyte absolutely rocks. We did it.